And then all of a sudden it's like gets loud again. And I'm like, dude, shut up. Welcome to the Big Dane podcast. I'm your host, Dana Trimborn, and this podcast is a random hodgepodge of topics that gets released on every Tuesday on, your preferred platform, of course. And I really enjoy sharing my personal stories and making those connections with you guys and just really being relatable, all in a fun and silly environment. Okay, friends, how many of you have had trouble sleeping recently or in the past? Is it your partner, maybe your significant other, spouse, neighbors, Conchi here in these row homes, pets keeping you up and just not able to fall asleep? If you're saying, wow, yes, that's me, then stick around because I am right there with you. So, as a kid, I remember and really didn't consider myself a light sleeper. Why would I? You're a kid, you're, doing coloring books and playing outside and playing sports, and why would I ever worry or be concerned about sleeping? You just don't. You don't. You have other things to worry about. Like, am I going to beat this next level in Donkey Kong or what? What's the deal here? Mind you, I did grow up in a bi-level house, so everything is very in close proximity with all of the rooms. The bedrooms are literally right there. The kitchen is 5 feet away. So you can hear a lot of things going on because just the way the house is set up, everything is right there, right? So yeah, either my parents would maybe be whispering to each other in the morning, or maybe just were very good at being quiet to let my brother and I sleep in. So who knows, but they were doing something right because I would not hear anything. No, maybe I would hear some silverware, some clanging around, but it wouldn't really, I don't remember anything bothering me, right? Why would I? So now as an adult, forget it. There needs to be specific conditions in place. You know what I'm talking about? It has to be a cool room, but not too cold. Because then how am I going to fall asleep? I don't know about you, but if I'm too cold, I will not be able to fall asleep. No way. Because now I'm thinking about I just need to warm up. My body is so cold. And especially with me and my Raynans, and you're saying, what are you saying, Big Dane? Yes, Raynans. So basically, I just have bad blood circulation. So my hands and feet are always cold. So for me, the winter, it's so crucial because I'm going to bed with a full sweatsuit on. So I'm okay, great. Finally, I'm warm. And then I put my hand on Matt's shoulder. I'm can you just warm my hand? And he hates it. He's get your hands away. So it's pretty funny. But yeah, if my hands and feet, if they are not warm, you want to be comfortable to sleep, right? So if those things aren't happening first, then it takes even longer to really, feel right and get ready for bed and all that jazz. So So yeah, but it's funny because then it's like, okay, great, now I am warm, especially now it's getting warmer out. So I have like a light, PJ pan on or something like that. And then I was like, oh, I actually feel hot. What's going on? I know. So then it's like, okay, well, I just wasted like 15 minutes trying to warm up, and which truthfully, I'm not really wasting time, but I'm putting shorts and have my t-shirt on, right? So, okay, so that's kind of like winding down, which in hindsight now I should probably start doing this like much earlier in the night than you think. And we actually even have a humidity little like temperature little thing that we have on the bureau there. And yeah, so we have that because we have a humidifier in the room. So, now that it is getting warmer and the humidity is a little bit rising, we don't need to put the humidifier on, because once it really gets so dry, like that's when I'm having nosebleeds. I'm like, this is not cool. So anyway, so the temperature is still there. So I'm like, wow, this is great. We can see like how like warm and cold it is in our room to like really understand like, well, what temperature do we need to fall asleep, right? So recently, yeah, because the weather is, it's changing, it's getting warmer. Now I've seen the temperature in our bedroom get up to like 70 degrees. 70 degrees. I mean, that's kind of warm to be sleeping in. I mean, because we still have like the full comforter, everything. And I like to be covered, okay? I don't want to feel like I'm not covered. Someone's going to grab me at the end of the bed, you know what I'm saying? Even though obviously like that's not happening, but that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. So yeah, so because it is that warm, now we got the window kind of open, maybe a little cracked. We got the ceiling, fan on. And yes, we have a ceiling fan on because who doesn't here in Kachi? I mean, if you're, in an older row home or just like an older home, I mean, it's almost like a staple, because that was like the thing back then. Wow, brilliant idea. Let's put a ceiling fan in here. So then you have to have a standing one, that takes up space on the floor. Imagine that, because now when I wake up, I'm going to run into the fan. So yeah, so now it's like, all right, like got everything set, get in the bed, and this is going to be great. And then just to add just a little bit more level of detail here. So yes, man, I live together. So yes, we're in the same bed together. Okay. So now, now you're thinking about, wow, I have to sleep with this person next to me. Who decided that? Who thought that this was okay to do? I mean, I went for how many years, like, sleeping alone in my bed, and now you want me to sleep in a bed next to someone? This just doesn't add up. I mean, come on. Really? And yeah, we'll chit chat for a little, and then hope that I can get off to dreamland after that. But it just, just depends. Because some nights, like, I sleep fine, and I fall asleep, at a normal time-ish. But other nights, my mind is just, like, racing with thoughts and things like that. But, so anyway, for Matt... He's literally asleep in like 5 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm like, I have my eyes shut, but you're awake. And so now I'm like, I hear him breathing, just like a little bit, but I was also thinking about like because he like fell asleep so quickly and learned from my Aura Health Fitness ring that I wear now instead of my Fitbit got a little old, was on its last leg, so yeah, stepped it up. So yeah, I learned that it's really not good if you do fall asleep that quickly because it could be a sign of overtiredness. Yeah. So, I mean, right off the bat, I'm winning because I'm still awake, guys. I'm still awake. I know. But yeah, so now it's like I kind of hear him breathing like a little bit, which, all right, it's not too bad. Like maybe I can get through this. Maybe it's manageable, right? And then, just to kind of distract my thoughts a little bit, I try to think of something like cute and cuddly and soft. And so for that reason, I think of my cat, Moo. And usually that has been helping, but that doesn't always do the trick, guys. Doesn't always help. So now it's like I'm still awake, spoke too soon. Now it's like 20 minutes in here. And now he's like breathing so loud. It's like, and then occasionally like a, oh my God, I almost just choked. I guess that's what I get. But it's like a little snort, like, little piggy, just occasional. But then it's back to like the heavy breathing, like, I'm like, well, who can sleep next to this person? Who? And so now at this point, I'm just annoyed because now I'm still awake and I cannot fall asleep. And sure, yeah, sometimes it is like the breathing that's happening. And I even actually thought too, like, isn't there something like, I think it's called something specific where like there's people out there that just hate the sound of breathing, of people breathing. Yeah. Even like just me like sitting here. And then I thought, oh my God, am I that person? Like, that's horrible. So anyway, that was a side thought. But yeah, so sometimes it's like, okay, like it's his breathing, but then other times too, it could be a combination of like the breathing and my mind. It's just racing with thoughts and mostly new topics for the podcast. But honestly, there's some times that I have now been awake for like 45 minutes, almost an hour. I'm still not asleep. And now all of a sudden I have a new topic in my mind that I thought, holy shit, let me write this down. I should actually get like a pen and paper to put next to my bed. And I mean, maybe it might look like scribble by the time I actually wake up. But so what I'll do, like I'm like squinting at my phone and like making sure the brightness is like all the way down. I don't want to blind myself and then be even more awake, And so then I open the notes app real quick and hey, then it's there in the morning. Because other than that, then I'm going to definitely forget because when I wake up in the morning, that's it. But now I have like a reference to go to, right? I mean, unless I'm literally like awake the entire night, then I'll remember because I've just been awake. So what else am I gonna do? So yeah. I'm wondering who else is having this problem with trying to sleep next to someone and adjusting. And it's not even like we just moved in together. It's been over a year now. But in having lived by myself with not having to worry about anyone breathing next to me, and then to go into this, it's kind of tough. It's a little tough. Yeah. But yeah, but I would say it's probably 9 out of 10 times when he is breathing like super loud. And then I'm like, do you really need to breathe that loud? Like, what's happening inside right now? Like, because you were soft, right? You were very softly breathing, and now all of a sudden it's like this like monsters taking over and saying, breathe louder, wake up, Dana. And so now I thought, all right, let me try an earplug. Let me try it. So now I have these on like my nightstand. Okay. And sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't work. And let me tell you why. Because if I am feeling relaxed, I'm like, okay, I'm like kind of like sleepy and like I'm ready to go to sleep. So I put a plug in, I know, only one ear. And then I'm like, okay, well, I don't think I can hear him. I think this is good, right? And then all of a sudden it's like gets loud again. And I'm like, dude, shut up. I'm like punching him in the night. He's waking up like bruised, you know. He's not, I swear. But you know, you get the idea. But the other times, like I have tried even putting like 2 plugs in my ear, and this is why I only do the one, because then you can really hear yourself breathe. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear myself breathe. It's like this pulse. Now there's a pulse in my brain, in my ears, and it's like you know, no, it's time for sleep, not to dance and get my groove on. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. So yeah, so at that point where I've really had enough, like nothing is working, I'm like, well, we do have a guest room and no one is here, so let me walk on over there. And so it's like good and bad, because then in looking at my sleep the next day from my R ring, it's like, okay, well, you only got like 7 hours of sleep. I thought 7 hours of sleep? What? Aura, how is this happening? I was in bed at 10:30. Yeah, but I probably didn't go to sleep till 12. And then, you know, I get up at 7:45. But did you really sleep all that time? No. No, you didn't. Okay? Like maybe in an ideal world, you would hit every single of those like components of sleep with your deep sleep, right? REM, your, you know, passing with flying colors in your restful state, right? Like all these things. But no, that's not the case, because you're moving in your bed, you're moving around, you're trying to sleep, and nothing is working. And so now when I do get up, I understand my sleep a little bit better, because I'm not feeling refreshed, unfortunately. I would say probably only once or twice a week, maybe, I'm feeling refreshed. And to feel refreshed is a good feeling. It's such a good feeling, because I'm like, wow, what is this? What's happening right now? My body's recovered? No. But yeah, when you hear about like, yeah, you gotta get 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep, or whatever you need, you know, it's different for everyone, but you know. So, but honestly, it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult if you sleep next to someone and are light sleeper like myself. Yeah. So what I have been actually doing recently, I just got this the other week, I bought some melatonin. Yeah. So I had tried it before, but I definitely had taken like, either I took it too late in the night, or it was too many milligrams. So it was either like 5 or 10, which, yeah, it's quite a range. But truthfully, I mean, I remember I took it, and this was probably about 5-6 years ago. And then I got up the next day for work, and I had to be downtown for work, and I literally felt like I was on drugs. Yeah. Like I felt exhausted, but then like exhausted on another level because you just don't feel right. Like something is happening right now. And I'm like, damn it, this melatonin, like I probably had like 5 times like too much, I bet. And I don't have the bottle, obviously, because it'd be expired. But now I'm like curious. I'm like, well, was it like 5 milligrams or was it 10? Or like, I mean, either way, it's way too much for myself at least. So yeah. So I'm like, you know what? It's been a while. Let me try it again. So I got the gummies this time. Okay. And it was in Target. I called up my brother. He's a pharmacist because I thought I could just walk over to the pharmacist right there. But I'm like, why would I do that when I can just call my brother, have a lovely conversation, and see, what he really thinks that I should get. So I was like, well, they got 5 milligrams, and they got like 2.5 milligrams, and you see 3. It's like all these things. You think there would be a better guide, especially something like this where like if you take too much, like you're not going to feel right. Like bottom line, I don't care whoever, who you are, like you're just not going to feel right. So you need to like find that like perfect balance. So, I'm on the phone with him. I'm like, all right, yeah. And I was asking him like what he got, but of course the one that he was describing, I didn't see that brand. So, then he was asking me like, and mentioning like Nature's Made. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I'll kind of look around, but ultimately he said 2.5 milligrams for my size and try it out and see what happens. Okay. So I'm like, awesome. Like, you're buying it. This is going to be great. So anyway, I look over and literally someone has like cleaned house in Target. The entire shelf, guys, gone. Except this one bottle was almost like a little spotlight happening. Was just like, if there was like music, happening when I'm buying and reaching for it. And it was hilarious. And I'm like looking left, looking right. I'm like, oh, okay. Hope no one tampered with this. So funny. But so I got them. I'm like, wow, it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to go to sleep. Like, never have felt so excited to go to sleep. Like, that's kind of a big deal. So I took the gummy, and so now one gummy was 2.5 milligrams. It wasn't like, oh, 2 gummies, 2.5 milligrams. No, this was 1 for 1, people. 1 for 1. And so I was like, wow, the next day I was like, wow, I fell asleep right away. This is great. And then as I was getting up, I was like, oh. And then I was like, oh no, because I thought I have a headache and I still don't feel that right. But like nothing like the first time, but still like kind of off. Like kind of, I like had trouble like focusing and like, I don't know, just really trying to do my job and writing emails and, reading things. And I'm like, this is not good. So I thought, okay, well, tried it, maybe I should even cut it down even more. So now I've been like slicing the gummies into halves because that is the perfect amount for myself now. Yeah. So if you've been noticing, if you bought something and you're like thinking, wow, like, yeah, I don't feel good, like something's like going wrong right now, cut it down, or speak to a pharmacist, perhaps, next time you're in Target or CVS or Walgreens. Okay. So crazy. But yeah, just like having it was like so much better. And not only can I fall asleep now like right away, and I'm like staying asleep for the most part. This is all great. But I will say, I don't think I would recommend taking it every night because then you're just gonna be like relying on this like so much. So like I try to take as needed, or if you're really lacking sleep and like thinking, yo, I just need to get to bed, then yeah, take it. But it's only a suggestion, because please note, I am not a healthcare professional, guys. I only work in healthcare advertising here, okay? So I know some stuff, but not like a lot of the specifics that a doctor would do, that a doctor would know. So yeah, I would say for me in getting to sleep, it's a couple of different things between hearing someone else breathe loudly and wanting to stab the person next to me. No, not really. It's my thoughts racing in my head, and maybe occasionally I will hear Phyllis next door binge watching Jeopardy all night. That's just facts right there. But hey, what are you gonna do? Matt and I actually keep talking about like, well, when we buy a house, like, let's get this, and when we buy a house, and so like, yeah, like when we get a house, like, let's get a king bed because we have a queen, which is like fine, but like, it's really not fine. Like I need to like move around, stretch, like, I don't want to be touched. So yeah, and then I thought, well, maybe not. Like maybe we shouldn't get a king bed, and why don't we get a house with 5 bedrooms, right? A room for myself, a room for Matt, a room for the podcast, a little podcast studio, and a room for his music, a little music studio. And, if people want to stay over, we got to have a guest room. So boom, 5 bedrooms. There you have it. It's done. We'll both sleep great. It'll be awesome. There won't be any complaints. No one's going to get hit, in the night because of breathing too loudly. And it's a win-win for everyone. What do you think? So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and can relate a bit. I mean, sleep is so important too. And for me, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not a morning person, and I just always look forward to sleeping. And, so yeah. So make sure you listen to all my episodes on the BigDanePodcast.com/podcast, and send me a note on the contact section when you toggle over there. And be sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And if I haven't mentioned it, if you haven't figured it out, it's at the Big Dane Podcast. Simple as that. Okay. And remember to have a look on my coffee page. So it's that little coffee cup icon on my website, and this page is exclusive content for yous guys, you know what I mean? And yeah, so this content is not gonna be on Facebook and Instagram, so you want to check this stuff out. Any kind of behind the scenes silly fun content, you know what I mean? All right. Well, hope you enjoyed it. Have a lovely week, and see you next week. Peace out.